Every fall for 56 years, American kids lined up on a field to do three things: punt a football, pass it, and kick it. By the NFL's own count, more than 3 million of them took part every single year, the largest youth sports skills contest on earth. Its finals were played in NFL stadiums. Its alumni include a Super Bowl-winning head coach. And then, one day in 2017, the NFL shut it down. No farewell broadcast, no final champion, just a short press release and silence. Here's the strange part: the reason it ended isn't what you think. It wasn't money, it wasn't ratings. Let's go back and see it. A quiet street in 1960s America. A row of brand new cars in the lot waiting for the weekend. And this is a real photograph. It started in 1961, and not at a stadium, at a car dealership. To understand why, you have to picture America at that exact moment. Television had just turned pro football from a regional curiosity into a national obsession, and the men buying the new sets were the same men buying the new cars. Ford sponsored the NFL's broadcasts, which meant every Sunday, football and Ford arrived in American living rooms together. So when the league wanted a contest for kids, the answer was obvious. Ford dealers across America would put up the sign-up sheets for a brand new competition called Punt, Pass, and Kick. Think about how strange and how brilliant that is. To enter a football contest, a boy between 6 and 15 had to walk into his local Ford dealership with a parent, and the ads were very specific about which parent. They told kids, bring your dad. Dad walks past the new Galaxies and Thunderbirds. Dad talks to a salesman. And somewhere in that showroom, a form gets signed. The NFL got its next generation of fans. Ford got fathers standing next to new cars. And the kids got something better than either, a shot. Because the genius of punt, pass, and kick was the latter. 3 simple skills: punt, pass, kick, measured in feet and inches. No tackling, no team, no tryouts. You competed against kids your own age, and only your own age. Win your local contest and you moved up to the district round. Win that, the region. Round by round, autumn after autumn, the ladder climbed towards something no backyard game could offer. Because the last rung wasn't in a park. It was somewhere much bigger. The finals were held where the NFL itself played. National finalists, eventually 40 of them, 20 boys and 20 girls, were flown out to compete at NFL playoff sites, on the same grass as the pros, in front of packed stadiums and television cameras. Picture being 10 years old, walking out of an NFL tunnel, hearing your name echo over the loudspeakers of a professional stadium. Your parents somewhere up in the stands. The pros watching from the sideline. That was the prize, not money, not a scholarship, but a moment on the biggest stage in American sports. And America bought in immediately. In 1962, its second year, the contest reportedly drew 431,000 kids. By its peak, the NFL counted over 3 million participants a year and called it the largest youth sports skills program in the world. 3 million every year. It became a fixture of American autumn school gyms, county fairs, halftime shows, and a quiet talent radar for the sport. Future NFL quarterbacks passed through it. A 9-year-old named Chris Miller won his age group in 1974 and later started under center in the league. A girl named Kendra Wecker made the national stage on her way to professional basketball. For half a century, if you were an American kid with a good arm or a good leg, this was where you found out. And every few years, the cameras caught someone special. One of those kids, a 13-year-old from Los Angeles, would become the most famous contestant in the program's history. Not for winning it, for what he was wearing. December 13, 1971. Monday Night Football, Los Angeles Coliseum, Rams versus Redskins. At halftime, the local punt, pass, and kick contestants jog onto the field and the broadcast cuts to a lineup of small boys in oversized helmets. Except one of them isn't small. He is, reportedly, 6'2" and 220 pounds. He is 13 years old. He'd won his region the way the ladder was designed, and part of his edge was pure homework. Every kid practiced throwing, but how many 13-year-olds practice punting? This one did. But when he arrived at the Coliseum, the event staff hit a problem nobody had planned for. None of the youth jerseys fit him. Not one. So they walked into the Rams' locker room and borrowed a real one from running back Les Josephson. And that's how a 13-year-old competed at halftime of Monday Night Football wearing a professional's game jersey, because clothing in his size simply didn't exist yet. His name was Andy Reid. 50 years later, that same kid stood on another NFL field in February as a Super Bowl champion head coach. Decades later, when the old halftime footage resurfaced online, millions of people watched a 13-year-old giant punt a football into the Los Angeles night. A grainy halftime clip from 1971, viewed well over 2 million times. That was the magic of this contest. It put ordinary kids on an extraordinary stage, and every once in a while, the kid turned out to be somebody, which makes what happened next even harder to explain. First cracks were quiet ones. By the late 70s, Ford's era was over, and over the years the contest passed through other hands: civic groups, pizza chains, soft drink brands. Each handoff made sense on its own. Together, they told a slower story. The contest that was once worth a national ad campaign was becoming something a league runs out of habit. The dealership ritual faded. Sign-ups moved to schools and parks departments, and the Ford showroom quietly fell out of the story. Nobody mourned any of it at the time, because the contest itself kept going. Kids kept punting, passing, kicking through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s. Girls competed now with their own national bracket and their own champions. The finals moved with the times, eventually landing at the Pro Bowl in Orlando, where 40 kids a year still got their moment on an NFL field. On paper, in 2016, punt, pass, and kick looked perfectly healthy. National finalists, NFL stadiums, television moments, 55 years of unbroken history. It had survived losing Ford. It had survived changing sponsors 4 times. It had survived every fad and format change in American sports. Inside the sport, though, something enormous was shifting, something no sponsor could fix, and it had nothing to do with this contest. It had to do with what parents now believed about football itself.
Yep.
On May 1st, 2017, the NFL announced that punt, pass, and kick was over after 56 years. There was no ceremony. No farewell season, no 57th finals, no last champion carried off the field. The official reason was almost bureaucratic. Youth football would shift toward team and school-based programs. A press release and it was gone. But remember what I told you at the start. The reason isn't what you think. Look at the numbers behind that press release. Between 2006 and 2017, according to industry surveys, tackle football lost over 3 million participants, from 8.4 million down to 5.2, a drop of nearly 40%. In 2016, a university poll found that 78% of American adults said children shouldn't play tackle football before age 14. 78% in a country where football is the national religion. And in 2017, the very year the contest died, flag football overtook tackle among 6 to 12-year-olds for the first time ever. American parents, worried about head injuries, were quietly pulling their kids out of the game, and the NFL was racing to rebuild its entire youth pipeline around safer, team-based flag programs before a generation slipped away. Here's the irony, and it's brutal. Punt, pass, and kick had no tackling, no contact at all. A child alone with a football, arguably the safest program the NFL ever ran. It wasn't part of the problem. But in the great reorganization of a sport fighting for its future, a 56-year-old individual skills contest simply wasn't a priority anymore. It wasn't killed by danger. It was tidied away by a league trying to survive it. Somewhere in America, there's a Ford dealership that used to keep a sign-up sheet on the counter every September. The fathers who brought their sons there are grandfathers now. The trophies, little golden footballs with a boy frozen mid-kick, are in attics and storage boxes, engraved with district names that no longer hold a contest. 56 autumns of it. The drive to the dealership, the measured throws, the long wait for your name. 3 million kids a year, and it ended with a press release most of them never read. What remains is flickering film, a huge 13-year-old in a borrowed Rams jersey, punting a ball into the California night while the Coliseum roars. The NFL is bigger than it has ever been. The stadiums are fuller, the broadcasts are everywhere, the game goes on. It's the other thing that's gone, the ladder. The one that started at a showroom counter and ended high in the air under stadium lights, with your dad watching. If you remember a contest, a program, or a tradition that quietly vanished, tell me in the comments. That's where the next story comes from. I'm Vanishing Era.